good to have you in the rig coming down the road with us. We're going to talk on a lot of different subjects today. 9/11 is going to come up. Of course, we have the 20th anniversary of 9/11 going to be taking place on Saturday. So it's a memory that many of us have that are watching down the road right now and taking part in this broadcast. And it's a memory that I'm glad that my grandkids don't have. They can read about it, they can hear about it, they can have all of that, but they didn't necessarily live it. And so we'll talk to some people today that did live it. Congressman Earl Pomeroy is going to join us today. He was right there in an area that was being targeted during 9/11. We don't know for sure whether or not that plane that went down in Pennsylvania was trying to get to the White House or trying to get to the Capitol. What we do know is it was coming that way. That's where they were heading towards. And so, you know, the congressman was there. He was there when this was all happening. And so I'd love to get his take on all of that, and we'll talk to him about it. Another person that was there is now the editor of North Dakota Living, and her name is Callie Peterson. Now, Callie, I had the privilege of working with for a number of years, but, you know, she was there as a young woman on a Farmers Union trip, as a kid, basically, on a Farmers Union trip. Can you imagine being in the Capitol complex, on the Capitol grounds, out there, learning about what was happening in our nation and all this unfolds? We're going to talk to Callie about that today. We'll get a chance to visit with her. Also, the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion, the city of Fargo, has that now. What does that mean? Well, we'll talk about that. We'll find out exactly what it means. We'll get a chance to visit with Terry Hogan, Dr. Terry Hogan, and find out what the doctor believes needs to happen in this diverse world that we live in, and how we need to all work together and build the workforce that we need. But now we're joined by a man that I'm proud to call my friend, and somebody whose work I watched from afar and I work next to at times, but he was an amazing United States Congressman for the great state of North Dakota, and that's Earl Pomeroy. Congressman, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Joel, good to be on your show.
I asked you to come on because of 9/11. You were there. You understand it. You know it. You know, you worked at the Capitol daily. What was it like on that day?
It was a surreal experience that I have thought a lot about as the 20th anniversary comes close. You know, just to start of it on a basic level, it was a gorgeous day. They don't make September days any nicer. And so I came to work that day like you do in a beautiful September day, raring to go. And suddenly these reports came in, and, you know, obviously, like everyone, we thought the first was a tragic accident. Second one, we knew there was something going on. The Pentagon's hit. We feel like we're under a full-blown attack. And it was all just extraordinarily not disorienting, but there was a lot to absorb and try to sort out, and information was very incomplete. So it was a really difficult day. It was in the days after that you really had an opportunity to reflect upon the horrible life loss, the tragedy, the outrage of the hit to our nation, and the extraordinary damage done. I remember sometime later, a few weeks later, Joel, being at a funeral in Stanley, North Dakota, for one of North Dakota's best and brightest, Ann Nelson, who'd been killed in the first plane crashes that hit the Cantor Fitzgerald trading floor way up in the World Trade Center. In Stanley, North Dakota, this rural place, pre-oil, so it was rural and quiet, and we're losing one of our daughters from that town. And I thought to myself, the impact of that hit in New York City reached every community in the country. It reached right across and grabbed us. And you know, well, history will show we didn't get the response to this attack entirely correct, but we came together and we were determined to do something, and that kind of drove the weeks that followed.
I know how you worked with your staff. They were part of your family. I know how you treated them. You were the boss, but yet they were people that you recognized and worked with on an equal basis every day. How did it work with that? Because basically, you have a lot of young people in harm's way, and so what was going through your mind when it came to your staff?
Let me just say, I was a little slow on the take in terms of I wanted to get through the day's business. And so even after the second plane had hit, I was trying to conduct a meeting. And at that point in time, the Pentagon was hit, the Capitol was evacuated. We didn't know about the grave danger we were at with the plane that ultimately brought down in Pennsylvania about 20 minutes out. And I think they were heading for the Capitol, not the White House. We left, and we kind of later congregated at the home of a staff member who lived on Capitol Hill. Interestingly, my press secretary's brother was a New York cop and had called her as he went screaming down to the World Trade Center. He was then incommunicado, and she thought he might have died, and spent the day in literally a state of grief. And we were all terribly, terribly worried. He reported in late that night that he was okay. But it was a very shared, intense experience. Actually, I think many of your viewers will have had their own versions of it as workplaces and families and classrooms across the country tried to determine in real time what the hell was going on and the horror that the United States of America would experience an attack like this one.
You were one of the leaders of the nation. You're one of the ones that the people of North Dakota elected and said, go to the halls of Congress and represent us. How hard is it when that much emotion is involved, when you see people jumping from a skyscraper, when you see people dying that how hard is it to not overreact? My anger, I can't imagine what I would have done had I been in your position. When you get to the point where now you are back doing your job and you've got to respond to this, how hard is that?
Well, there was a whole lot of emotion there, Joel, and it was just a matter of, point me in the right direction. I want to fight somebody. And unfortunately, I believe the direction we got out of the White House at that time exploited this strong national emotion to stand up for the United States of America, one country, and face down terrorism. Ultimately, that was channeled into a war vote on Iraq, which I supported. Worst vote I cast in Congress, perhaps, in my time in Congress. So I feel like there were things we had to do. We did a lot of things right. We stood up the TSA system that provides passenger protection. 9/11 showed us you could hijack a plane at will, 4 out of 4, no problem. Well, that can't happen anymore. So we took steps, created a Homeland Security Department, created a lot of things that made the country much safer and more prepared for terrorism than we were before. But ultimately, the foreign policy application of this was ill-advised. And look, we saw the kind of last stage of just missteps in August as we pull out of Afghanistan, a 20-year commitment that could have gone different, but the early going was handled poorly and we made some mistakes.
See, to me, it's so ironic that upon the 20th anniversary of such a tragic day, we've got some of the response of that taking place and playing out on the front page of every paper and every news article out there. The ties to that, the response that government gave us to that. You mentioned the vote on Iraq and how that shook out, and who was the enemy that day. When I look at Afghanistan, somewhere along the line, what you voted for, the mission that you voted to accomplish was accomplished. I get really mad when people say we lost in Afghanistan because the mission changed. I mean, it was about getting Osama bin Laden. It was about making sure terrorists paid. And somewhere along the line, we became these nation builders. And so for all those soldiers, it's frustrating to me. And I'm curious what you think. Well,
first of all, I want to say that the very best elements of an American response was reflected in the men and women who ultimately in the years to come would leave their communities, leave their jobs, most importantly, leave their families and go to Iraq, go to Afghanistan, wearing a uniform of the North Dakota National Guard and serving the United States of America. But we saw nothing but patriotism, heroism, and sacrifice to make sure 9/11 wasn't going to happen again, and it hasn't. So to those men and women across our country and across our state, God bless you for what you did. You know, marriages failed, jobs were lost, distance from children occurred. You can't just pick up and leave like that for a year or two and not have consequences. And for some, it was repeat deployments. So there was tremendous sacrifice, and it was so well directed and well intentioned and fighting for freedom as they understood it every step of the way. And so I have this huge appreciation for that. What I feel is that senior leadership had policy drift. What were we trying to accomplish? You're darn right we got Osama bin Laden. We took down completely Al-Qaeda. We took down the Taliban that had hosted Al-Qaeda. Mission accomplished on that one. But the Iraq misadventure, I think, was really unfortunate and didn't just not work out there. I actually think Afghanistan might have had a different ending had we not taken our eye off the ball and moved for a bigger pursuit. I think we could have had a different outcome in Afghanistan. As it turned out, we couldn't. Had years of basically just a long, slow goodbye, and then ultimately what we saw in August.
Congressman, last question, I promise. Someday when you're sitting down with your grandkids and they talk about, and they ask their grandpa about this, you know, because they don't have the understanding, the history, the visual image live like many of us did. What are you going to tell them? What are you going to tell them about 9/11?
Two things. First, this was a hit that really, really hurt. We lost people we love, and we had our confidence as a country shaken that a terrorist attack of such deadly dimension could be launched. Then secondly, the patriotic response. It may sound corny, Joel, but starting when the members of Congress, House and Senate, Republican, Democrats, standing together singing "God Bless America" the very night of the attack on the steps of the Capitol. That should be an ongoing symbol. Man, when we are hit from outside, we can come together like nobody's business. We've got plenty of fights and disagreements in the meantime, but don't underestimate ever the United States of America and our ability to stand together and meet the test.
Well, that'd be a great lesson, and one I would want my grandkids to hear as well. Congressman, always good to speak to you. Thanks for giving us your time.
Thank you for allowing me on your show.
Congressman Earl Pomeroy, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, Callie Peterson, she was there as a young kid. We'll talk to her about it when we come back.
Howdy folks, it's a Canline Cafe. I reckon it's time you're due for a hearty meal. So saddle up for the day with one of our Hay-Boston breakfast homemade soups. Fill your grill at our salad bar, sink your teeth into our famous Canline burger and barbecue ribs. Top it off with spoon-rattling pie with a combo roll that's sure to put a smile on even the toughest outlaws. Shake the dirt off the boots each night and warm up with the gang. Tell them about it, Stacy.
I can't wait to see you at the county line.
He once won a spelling bee in an ancient language that he did not speak. He is the only man to ever earn extra credit on an IQ exam. His academic degrees are considered legitimate spending currency in 22 nations, 2 principalities, and at Chick-fil-A restaurants in the United States and Western Canada.
I do not always engage with education programming, but when I do, it is the Dr. Duke Show.
Stay educated with the Dr. Duke Show, weekdays at 4 p.m. on Beck News.
Hi, Hunter Ellis here for Night Hero Binoculars by Atomic Beam. These binoculars let you see anything, even in pitch black darkness. Gotcha.
The secrets are powerful wide-angle atomic beam laser that reveals objects up to 150 yards away, hidden by darkness.
During the day, Night Hero gives you 10 times magnification. And when the sun goes down, press the Night Bright button to see clearly in the dark.
Light up garbage-eating critters,
or spot thieves before they even get close. Call or click now and get Night Hero binoculars for just $39.99. Order right now and you can double it. Plus, get our best-selling atomic beam flashlight. Just pay a separate fee. We'll even ship them to you free. This TV special offer is not available on Amazon. You can get it all, but you have to order now.
Call 1-800-619-1091. That's 1-800-619-1091. Or visit bynighthero.com. That's bynighthero.com. Order now.
Attention, have you or a loved one suffered from maculopathy, a serious retinal injury, after taking the prescription drug Almiron for interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome? In 2018, a researcher at the Emory School of Medicine linked Almiron, a prescription drug that treats interstitial cystitis or bladder pain syndrome, to maculopathy, which is sight-threatening and can cause an abrupt change of vision. Call Almiron Justice for a free legal consultation.
Please call 800-395-5680.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
You know, imagine being a young kid. You're on a trip that's a trip of a lifetime. You're on a bus and you're going to Washington, D.C., and it's going to be a lifetime experience. You're interested in public policy and you're interested in the people that make it. Callie, then Muslin, now Peterson, was on one of those buses. I've had the privilege of working with her. I've known Callie for quite some time, but she was in Washington, D.C., as, well, a youngster, for lack of a better way of putting it. Let's visit with her about it. And now as editor of North Dakota Living. Callie, good to have you coming down the road with us.
Hey, Joel, my friend. Thanks so much for having me on.
How
it's crazy
old were
to think
you?
That it's, 20 years ago.
Yeah. I mean, how old were you? It's going to give away your age. I get that, which is always rude to do to any woman. But how old were you when all this happened?
Well, once I hit 30, I didn't really care what age I was. The age isn't really a thing with me anymore, but I was 11 years old, and I was accompanying my mom, who still works for Farmers Union, worked for Farmers Union at the time, and a group of North Dakota farmers and ranchers who were participating in the Farmers Union fly-in in Washington, D.C. We're going to lobby Congress for that new farm bill, and in my journal, I kept the story. I said we were fighting for a farm bill that covers the cost of production. Well, 20 years later, we're still fighting for that farm bill, but that hasn't changed, but seemingly everything else has changed since that day.
Well, I don't know how to ask this, but you know, when you left, you had to have some idea of what this trip was going to mean to you, what your goals were. I know you. You're very goal-orientated. And so to have it completely changed by attacks on 9/11, when you left North Dakota to go to D.C., what was going through your mind at that time?
Well, funny you asked that, Joel, because, I was in 6th grade at the time, and Mrs. Matson was my teacher at Gusner Elementary in Jamestown. And for all the schoolwork I was going to miss for that week I was gone in Washington, D.C., the only thing she wanted me to do was to keep a journal of my trip, of the sights I had seen, the things I had learned about our country, and just the history in Washington, D.C. You know that our nation's capital is full of that great, rich history. So I was excited to see that. And so in this journal, I'm talking about up until September 11th, you can just see all the excitement in this 11-year-old kid's handwriting and thoughts about, I really wanted to see Ford's Theater. I was a big Abraham Lincoln fan. He was my favorite president. I had seen his birthplace in Springfield, Illinois 3 years earlier, so I was excited to see Ford's Theater. And I was obviously excited to see the Capitol building as well. I suppose it was because of my parents. I had an early interest in politics or the political process, and I was also very excited. I was a big kid, still am, also very excited about all the food we were going to eat. So my journal was mainly excitement for the things we were going to see, the people we were going to meet, and the food I was going to eat. And this journal, you can see just my life completely changed in the matter of a day. I woke up on 9/11 and the journal entry started with, I am writing to you now at 5:21 p.m. I finally calmed down and quit crying. I am so scared. I'll tell you about this hectic and tragic day in America. And then I start going in and talking about bin Laden and Osama bin Laden and suicide missions and suicide bombers. And my world completely changed, and my worldview really did change that day. And it's kind of, it was really emotional for me to read that journal. I hadn't read it in years, and I read it now as a 31-year-old woman, and I could still feel that, you know, post-traumatic stress disorder, some of that trauma of just my world change. It was like that childlike notion of safety shattered, for me especially, but I think for a lot of Americans.
You know, you think about that, and you know, you're surrounded by people that were part of your extended family, that Farmers Union family, and you've got people that are going to protect their Cali. I mean, they are, but I can't imagine how afraid you were. What was going through your mind in relation to being, you know, someone that young and being in the middle of an attack upon our nation where you didn't know what was going to happen next? I mean, I guess I got to ask it this way. How scared were you?
I guess I'll set you up with what the morning looked like for me, Joel, as an 11-year-old. So it was on that day that we were doing Capitol Hill visits, the whole Farmers Union group. So most of the Farmers Union members were in the House or Senate office buildings that morning or on their way. So when we left the hotel that morning, I was with my mom, and our job, we were going to go and take pictures of a lot of the members on Capitol Hill. And we had seen, I remember there was a little TV setting atop a beverage cooler in the hotel quick service restaurant, and we saw the planes hitting the World Trade Center. But at that time we didn't think much of it. It was just the one plane had been hit at that time, so it was about 9 o'clock, I suppose, we left the hotel. And even then, my mom, who she didn't, I guess, maybe have the worldview either to understand what it meant that the World Trade Center was hit, but I don't think a lot of people did at the time. And we went about our busy day, our business. We stopped to grab breakfast, and then we were right across the street from the Capitol building. And I kid you not, we turned the corner, and there were SWAT vehicles, there was policemen, law enforcement officers everywhere saying, run, get away from the Capitol, it's not safe here. And it was like people just started spilling out of the office buildings, like immediately after we turned that corner and he said that. And there was a woman, you know, I'm sure she was a congressional staffer. She left a high-heeled shoe behind on the sidewalk. And that to me, you know, I knew, holy, this is real. What's happening? My mom wanted to hide in these bushes because the journalist in her, of course, thought, okay, maybe there's a story, maybe there's a sniper on the roof. And I said, well, you can stay here, Mom, but I'm gonna run. So I took off, and my mom followed me. We dipped into, I think it was the Rayburn or the Cannon office building, and talked to a Capitol police officer there. And she told us how bad the trade centers were hit. She told us there were 2 other planes in the air at the moment, and they thought that they were coming for DC. She said, you go home and stay safe. And, you know, she had to stay behind. So that was powerful for me too, after, you know, kind of the recent attack on the US Capitol, just how brave the Capitol police officer at 9/11, she said, you go home, but obviously I'm gonna stay here and take care of things I have to do. The traffic was crazy. You could see all sorts of military and FBI, whoever it was, law enforcement officials, all of a sudden had swarmed every roof of every building in DC with, you know, armed with machine guns. So it was a scary feeling. And then a gentleman we were running next to on the sidewalk, he said, look up, and you could see the smoke coming from the Pentagon. So that was the timing of kind of where everything was at. We got back to the hotel, and it wasn't long after that we learned that Flight 93 had crashed in a small county in Pennsylvania. And I still think that was, those are angels, people that did that.
I don't, you know, there's a lot of question over whether or not Flight 93 was headed for the Capitol or whether or not it was headed for the White House. It really, you know, unfortunately to me, in relation to you, a person that's a lifetime friend, it doesn't matter. It was coming to where you were. And you know, when you looked at that Pentagon and you looked at what was happening, that had to put into this young girl who's trying to learn about her country, who's got the good fortune of having wonderful people and a wonderful mother trying to teach her about our democracy, I can't imagine the emotion. I just can't imagine as a parent what I would have done in relation to how this is life-changing for you. Now, you wrote about this, didn't you, Callie? They're going to be able to read about this experience.
Yes, so if you are a subscriber or get the North Dakota Living magazine, this is our September issue. It just came out in the mail. You can also subscribe or see it online at ndliving.com. But I actually wrote about 9/11 as my perspective as an 11-year-old, using some of those excerpts from my journal, and then my reflections now as an adult. And my mom actually took some really great photos when we were there. The journalist and her, she went back out when DC was in a state of emergency and no one was supposed to be on the street. And Pam Muslin was taking photos of what was happening, of course. So some of those photos are in there. And it really, I think, transports people, even if you weren't there, to that day on 9/11. And I think it's so important to remember 9/11, 2001, because it is my generation's Pearl Harbor. And we can't forget those tragic and hectic days in America, because those are the days that make America, and how we respond to them. It's how we become a better country, and it defines us as Americans.
Find that edition. Find that North Dakota Living. There's two magazines that I get, that I read instantly. That's the Rolling Stone magazine and North Dakota Living. And the only difference between the two of them is there's only one that my wife and I fight over, who gets first, and that's North Dakota Living. Callie, keep doing what you're doing. Thanks for sharing your story.
Hey, thanks, Joel, for having me on. Go Vikes.
Go Vikes. Callie Peterson, ladies and gentlemen, editor of North Dakota Living. When we come back, Dr. Terry Hogan, we're going to get a chance to talk about the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the city of Fargo, right after this.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and I'm coming to you with one of the most important commercials that I've ever done. All of you know what MyPillow and myself have gone through in the last 8 months in my efforts to bring the truth forward. Well, now you can help in a couple ways. First, get everyone you know to go to my new media platform, frankspeech.com. There you'll find all the footage from my cyber symposium and many other important broadcasts. Also, I am personally doing a new daily live show to get the truth out. It's at 11 a.m. and 6 p.m. Central Time, Monday through Friday. Secondly, I'm offering some of the best prices ever on MyPillow products, but they're only available on frankspeech.com. Go to frankspeech.com now and use the promo code on your screen, or call the 1-800 number below to receive these exclusive MyPillow offers. Thank you and God bless.
Introducing the Cool Turtle, the ultra-comfortable mask enhancer that creates a protective, cool, and breathable space between your mask and your face. Simply slide under any mask or gaiter and immediately feel the refreshing pocket of air surrounding your face. Cool Turtle's ergonomically designed, soft, comfortable shell immediately reduces mask friction, allowing you to breathe and talk in a comfortable environment.
I can actually breathe. With the Cool Turtle, no more sweating.
It's like I don't even have a mask on.
Call now and get not one, not two, but 3 Cool Turtles for just $10. Order now and we'll send you 2 more Cool Turtles free. No fees, absolutely free. Plus, you can get a 10-pack of 4-ply face masks. Just pay a separate fee. This offer is not available on Amazon. Get the real Cool Turtle now.
Call 1-800-270-1219. That's 1-800-270-1219. Or visit getcoolturtle.com. Order now.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money. So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Welcome to No Apologies, your after-hours oasis of sanity. God, your ego is so tiny and fragile. I'm Rick Becker.
And I'm Lori Hins.
Make no mistake, folks, we lost. Again, we lost the war in Afghanistan. Dynamic. There's nothing wrong with rattling the cages of the old guard.
Your retreat begins at 9 Central on Beck News and online at beck.news.
You know, if you're going to hire someone to do a new job and go down a new area where you know you need help, well, you go looking for a person that understands it, that understands exactly what you're working for and towards. Dr. Terry Hogan is just that. He's the Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the City of Fargo. Now, here's a little bit of background. Dr. Hogan has conducted substantial research on issues surrounding diversity, equity, and inclusion during the last 18 years. Several institutions of higher education in the greater Chicago area, while serving as a professor of sociology and governmental studies. That's a pretty good resume. He also assisted universities and private businesses as a consultant relating to diversity, equity, and inclusion in relation to, well, Title V, Title VII, and Title IX. And so let's bring him in and visit with him. Dr. Hogan, thank you, sir, for joining us.
But thank you so much for having me on your platform.
A lot of people, when we say that you're the first ever Director of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion for the City of Fargo, would ask, why? What is this job needed for? And that's the obvious first question I have to have for you, Dr. Hogan.
Well, the job within itself is basically built into a situation is that I am here to build relationships, form partnerships, strategize, look at initiatives, and best practices for the City of Fargo. As I've said in previous interviews, I want to make the City of Fargo the best that it can be in every way.
So when I hear about this, this is from the outside looking in. What I see is a city on the grow and a city that already has grown, that's diverse, that has many different cultures in it, and that needs someone to make sure that all of these different lifestyles, the different people can live together with the same goals to make, as you said, Fargo better. Do you think the people of Fargo understand that? Do you think that the average citizen in Fargo realizes that, you know what, there are neighbors that they need to know better?
Well, that is what I'm here for, is to educate. Oftentimes when you talk about diversity, equity, and inclusion, most individuals don't. It has been a system that has been around for the last 15 to 20 years. However, it's been more in effect, due to the upheaval of a lot of things that have gone on, within this American value system. And the most important thing is education, 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 and that is what I'm here to do. So
what's goal one? I mean, you didn't take this job because you didn't know where you were going or what was going to be asked of you. When you look at this, what's action item number one?
Well, the bottom line, as I said, I gave a 90-day plan, and what I want to do is to come here. Well, right now, I am in the process of getting to know people, the stakeholders, internally and externally, if you will. And with that being said, as I become more and more acquainted, I can see what the concerns are, what needs to be done if necessary, and just work towards that. As I said previously, I'm here to form relationships, to keep the perspective of partnership going throughout the process, and to find, if in fact, best practice if needed.
You were doing this long before the George Floyd murder. You were
Absolutely.
doing it long before that.
Absolutely.
Some might say this is a reaction to that, when in fact you were clearly in this field long before that. So, Minneapolis-St. Paul is ours. From where I live, in 3 hours, I'm from downtown Minneapolis. When in Fargo, you're 3.5. Almost maybe 4 hours from downtown Minneapolis. Do you think that Fargo and other communities get that when they see how all of that played out in Minneapolis, St. Paul area, and then spread into other cities? And of course, we had a riot in downtown Fargo after a very peaceful march that took place with thousands of people. That Fargo understands diversity and realizes that, you know what, we have to understand each other. Do you think that was a turning point, what happened in Minneapolis, for many cities just like Fargo?
Well, I can't say yes or no to that, because each municipality, each city, each institution, organization has its own fabric. But what I can say is that it goes back to my previous, is that if you don't know, then I'm here to educate. And if you do know, we're just going to keep educating each other, to make Fargo the best that it can be.
So, that being said, when you look at the city of Fargo providing that type of leadership, when you look at the current police department, when you look at the attitude of the leaders in Fargo, the mayor and everyone down, do you think that they get it? I mean, are they going to allow you to do what you need to do to be successful?
I truly believe so. We've had strategic conversations about DEI work and so forth, and how it goes into implementation. And this administration has been very much on board with everything that I've suggested at this point. So it's all about, again, me getting to know all the stakeholders and doing what I need to do to consistently and continuously make Fargo the best that it can be.
So when I look at the Fargo, Moorhead area, I see a college town. I do. I still see it. I see NDSU. I see MSUM. I see Concordia. I see a lot of different, personalities, individuals that come to town and then leave town. And while they're in town, how do you go about connecting with them? Because they might have different attitudes from where they come from when they get to Fargo. Is that somewhere that you have to focus on the education process?
Well, that's the good part about it, is that, is that you're going to come in contact with young folks first. You're going to plant the seed with these individuals first. These individuals are into a new movement. They are into a new mindset. And this is the generation is that you want to partake and to get involved with. So with that being said, it's all about, again, I stick to the premises of educating.
I go down to the K-12 level, and I go to people that are in my life, that are in the West Fargo public school system, and I think that because that's a melting pot. That's a place where all different cultures go, all different peoples of color. I mean, that's a place where people get to make friends, be friends, and understand each other. Is there something in that education process? I mean, I get it. You've said education a lot during our conversation here, but is there something that we can learn as adults from them?
Absolutely. The thing is that young folks, when you plant the seed into the fabric of young people, oftentimes they take the initiatives home to their parents. And even when individuals have that old process of thinking, if you will, I am all about thinking outside of the box. And when you plant the seed into young folks, young people take things home to their parents. And sometimes the parents may look at the verbiage and say, you know what, wow, I never thought about this way. However, let's reassess my thinking. Let's reassess my thoughts. Let's put things into perspectives and let's get it going. And with that being said, there's a change just by itself.
I think there's going to be other cities that are going to contact you and look to you for advice.
Absolutely.
There are other communities in North Dakota that are going to look to you and say, all right, how is this working? How are you doing it? And do we need someone on our staff in this type of a position? And so it's going to be one, Dr. Hogan, that's watched. And that's probably a good thing as well, if you're going to educate people. So thank you for coming on, sir.
It's a pleasure, and thank you for having me.
I'm sure we'll have more conversations. Dr. Terry Hogan, ladies and gentlemen. When we come back, some thoughts of my own as we continue our trek down the road.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.
Non-attorney spokesperson. This is a paid advertisement for legal services sponsored by Nightline Legal. Cases assigned on a random basis to participating law firms. This drug remains approved by the FDA. If you or a loved one regularly took Zantac and were later diagnosed with cancer, call right now. You may be entitled to financial compensation. Potential cancers include bladder cancer, colon cancer, kidney cancer, stomach cancer, liver cancer, pancreatic cancer. Do not stop taking a prescribed medication without first consulting with your doctor. Discontinuing a prescribed medication without your doctor's advice can result in injury or death.
Call 1-800-230-9210.
Seniors, are you aware that you could pay less for your car insurance?
Seniors can save money on their car insurance.
You might save a little, you might save a lot.
Maybe hundreds of dollars a year.
You might save 5% a year, maybe 10%, 15%, or even more.
That's a lot of money.
So call right now and find out just how much money you might be able to save.
1-800-699-0761. 1-800-699-0761.
Hi, it's me, Anthony Sullivan. And yes, you've actually caught me at home relaxing, because life's been pretty worry-free since I got coverage with American Residential Warranty.
You won't believe what ARW covers. Heating and air conditioning, washers and dryers, kitchen appliances, plumbing, water heaters, electrical systems, flat screens and laptops, even pools and spas, and so much more.
Call American Residential Warranty. They'll get you covered.
1-800-219-1467.
At Beck Communications, we've been planning for your future. Over the past decade, we've placed nearly 200,000 miles of dedicated fiber optics in the ground, enough fiber optic strands to circle the world 8 times. Taking no shortcuts, we connected every home and business in our service area with dedicated fiber optics. It's your personal, unrestricted, unthrottled connection to the world. Best of all, this dedicated fiber means you do not share your connection. We call this intimate, dedicated connection Beck Fiber.
Couple of things I want to take advantage of while I can to get a chance to talk to you about. I want to give you a story of my own. You heard from Callie Muslin, you heard from Earl Pomeroy. You know, during 9/11, I was in the North Dakota legislature, and during the interim, you go to meetings. And one of the committees that was meeting at that time was meeting at the North Dakota State College of Science in Wahpeton. Well, that's in my backyard. That's one that always called me for help in the legislature and called me to come to that meeting. So I didn't serve on the committee, but I was coming to testify and to make sure and advocate on behalf of the North Dakota State College of Science. And when I got there, we knew of one plane hitting one of the Twin Towers in New York. And so we knew of that. Everybody thought it was a mistake. Everybody thought it was just an accident. Everybody thought somebody didn't know how to fly a plane. But it didn't take very long after we knew it was an attack. It didn't. Now, when I walked into that committee hearing, you know, understand this, and I do not blame the chair, Dave Neffing. I don't. Because nobody saw it coming. Nobody understood, you know, how huge of an issue this was. Nobody understood how this was going to play out in history. But when I walked into that hearing, you know, I butted in. I said, Mr. Chairman, you need to understand, I think our nation is under attack. And the chairman decided to keep going with the hearing. I didn't care. I didn't care because my time in that hearing was over. And so I went into the student union along with the students that were watching this, and I just sat there and took it all in. And the response didn't matter, you know, it didn't change no matter what your age group was. It didn't. It didn't matter if you were 40 or 50 or 18. You know, the reaction was the same. It was horror, it was a little bit of fear, and it was a lot of anger. And that was going on all at the same time. And of course, I think the anger shifted and became even more prevalent as the whole thing went on. You look at it, and you look at what this nation went through and the changes that happened after that. At the time that this happened, my real job, not in the state senate, but my full-time job that was paying my salary, was as a manager of a water system. I was the manager of a rural water district, Southeast Water Users. And so instantly my mind turned towards the very safety measures that we had put in place, because what we were shipping to people was drinking water. You know, it was water for all uses, I realized, but at any given time, they were going to go to the tap and get themselves a drink of water. And so what better way to attack people than to attack their water? You know, with all due respect to the power companies, you can knock people's power out, but that isn't going to kill them like it would if you poisoned people's water. And so I went back into real water manager mode. I went back into, okay, if we're under attack and if it's this planned, what else might they do? Now, if you look back on it, the chance of the rural water system that I was managing being part of this attack upon our nation was pretty slim, very slim. But all of you did that same thing, that remember it. You think of, okay, that day, what is going to happen to me? What is going to happen to my life? What do I need to get done? Do I need to protect my family? Do I need to look at ways to make sure that my kids in school are okay? I mean, this changed our life. Security measures. When's the last time? I mean, who would have thought before 9/11 that they were ever going to require you to take off your shoes to get on an airplane? I mean, think about that. I'm one of those guys that always has a pocket knife. I do. It's how I was raised. My dad told me, and he told as many people as he can, that a man with a pocket knife is worth 50 cents more an hour. And you know what? It's pretty handy to have. But when I get on a plane, I can't take it with me. And there's a lot of pocket knives that I've had that went into a trash bin at an airport. That all changed after 9/11. That all changed after 9/11. Look at what happened with security in our schools. Look at what happened in the lives of our military. You know, when Congressman Pomeroy was on earlier, you know, he talked about the decisions he had to make. He talked about Afghanistan and how we had to go after Osama bin Laden. He's right about that. He's also right that we never should have been in a war against Iraq after that, because they had nothing to do with what you're seeing right now. I think that people forget that the individuals who were such zealots, they attacked our country. They spent years in our country planning and training and doing everything they can to do what they did to us on 9/11. They were Saudis. They were Saudis. They were part of Al-Qaeda. They were individuals that you know, that Obama, not Obama, that when we look at this situation of who was attacking us and who planned this, we had to attack him. Bin Laden was the cause, or was the leader of all of this. And so, you know, to sit there and say we're going to pick a fight with Iraq, what should have we picked a fight with Saudi Arabia, which is where these individuals were from? No, we needed to pick a fight with Osama bin Laden and Al-Qaeda. And that's why we were in Afghanistan. That's why I would have voted to go into Afghanistan. I think mistakes were made. I think that we're living with some of those mistakes. I think our mission in Afghanistan changed for whatever reason. And it doesn't matter whether you're a Democrat or Republican, because there's been opportunities for both political parties to do what President Biden just did. And that is get us out of Afghanistan. President Trump promised he would. And you know what? It was one of the things I liked the most about President Trump, is the fact that he had pledged he would get this country out of Afghanistan, because the mission was never right after we got Osama bin Laden. The mission was never right after that. We should not have been in the job of nation building. History has proven that not to be something people can do successfully anywhere. right? I mean, it doesn't work. That's up to the people of that nation to live in that nation and to build their nation. And so when we ended up in Iraq, I think that we have to take a step back and ask what the motivation was from that and never let it happen again. I'm going to say a name that many people are going to be mad that I say, and that's Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney worked in a lot of administrations. He was the vice president then. He had the ear of the president, and there was old, bad blood between Iraq and Dick Cheney, going back to the first Bush administration. And when you have the ear of the most powerful man in the nation, and you're seen as basically the one he can count on issues like this, you give too much power to him. And that's what happened when it came to Iraq. The soldiers, the men and women that served this country did their job. They got Osama bin Laden. He ended up at the bottom of the ocean. And that was the mission. After that was accomplished, and after we knew and put Al-Qaeda under control, we should have gotten out. And now we have. As ugly as it's been, our departure from Afghanistan, we got out because our mission was completed. We did not lose that war. When we come back, some final thoughts for you as we continue and finish our ride down the road.
Do you worry about going to the dentist? After all, a visit to the dentist can easily cost $2,000 or more. Well, relax. The Carefree Dental Card is now available in your area. Call now and we'll send your actual card at no cost today. With the Carefree Dental Card, you go to the dentist whenever you need and you instantly pay a lot less. Activate your card and you can start using it immediately. From exams and cleanings to more expensive procedures like crowns, dentures, even braces, they're all included with the Carefree Dental Card. Say you go to the dentist today without any card and your bill is, well, ouch. Wait a minute, let's try that again. You go to the dentist today and show your Carefree Dental Card, you save $525. The Carefree Dental Card is just $15.95 a month, so call now and make going to the dentist carefree.
Call 1-800-416-5739 to receive your Carefree Dental Card information kit. 1-800-416-5739. Call now.
I can't say enough good things about these nano hearing aids.
Real people talking about nano hearing aids.
The hearing quality is great.
Until now, hearing aids used to be too expensive for the average person. Until nano. Call now and you'll get your nano hearing aids for only $297. You'll save $100. When you buy one hearing aid, Nano will give you a second hearing aid free. Call right now.
1-800-213-3815.
Spas, etc. Yeah.
You've come to know and trust us for over 18 years with the largest selection and showroom in Western North Dakota for our beautiful Sundance spas. Plus, you could pick out your next home experience with our selection of pool tables, shuffleboards, and fun accessories.
Spas, etc. Your relaxation destination on Maiden Bismarck.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, inventor of MyPillow. Thanks to your support, you've helped make MyPillow become one of the fastest growing companies in America. Over the last 12 years, you've helped MyPillow create thousands of jobs right here in the USA.
When I got MyPillow, I'm asleep almost immediately. I stay asleep at night and I wake up more well-rested in the morning.
That's why I invented MyPillow. My patented fill adjusts to your exact individual needs and helps keep your neck supported and aligned. I'm interrupting this commercial right now. Retailers have canceled MyPillow, and to thank you for your support, I'm gonna pass the savings directly on to you. For example, you get my 6-piece towel sets, regular $109.99, now only $44.98, or MyPillow dog beds for as low as $19.99 with your promo code.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com.
It's here, isn't it, ladies and gentlemen? It is football season. We've already seen the University of North Dakota win. We've already seen North Dakota State win. But here's the other thing we get. Starting tonight, the NFL starts playing football. And it's really kind of cool how they're starting. They're making the Dallas Cowboys play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Super Bowl champion Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The team with Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady is like 65 years old, 60. I know he's not that. But let's be honest. He's not young, and yet he's still the best quarterback in the game of football. And the Cowboys have to play him. Now, I know I'm going to have to eat crow a little bit later if the Cowboys win this game. I don't care. I don't like the Cowboys. And for all you Cowboy fans out there, I don't apologize. If there's a more arrogant team than the Cowboys or owner than Jerry Jones, I don't know who they are. I don't. You know, to go around saying you're America's team, I'll tell you who my team is. It's the Minnesota Vikings. Come to my house and see all the Viking things I own in my little man cave garage. And so it's good just to see them playing. I'm a Viking season ticket holder. I go to a lot of pro football games, and I can tell you this: it's going to be fun to be back in the stands in that year after when COVID was at its worst. I think that the individuals that are playing football and not vaccinated are some of the worst teammates that you can possibly have. To not do their research in regards to what the vaccine does, to not listen to the CDC or the Food and Drug Administration, I think it tells you exactly who they are. And so if Kirk Cousins cost us a game, a forfeit, because of himself, I'm going to have a problem with that. And believe me, in Indiana, they will as well with Carson Wentz. The stands will be full. They'll be full because right now we are able to do it because people have been vaccinated. I think that these teams need to get out and encourage people to be vaccinated. I think NDSU and UND need to do that as well before the stands aren't full. Good riding with you, folks.
Hello, I'm Mike Lindell, and as you know, my passion is to help each and every one of you get the best sleep of your life. That's why I created my new Giza Dreams bed sheets. I started by using the world's best cotton called Giza. It's only grown in a region between the Sahara Desert, the Mediterranean Sea, and the Nile River. It's ultra soft and breathable, but extremely durable. My Giza sheets also include full 21-inch wide pillowcases that will fit over any pillow and deep pocket sheets that will fit over any mattress. The first night you sleep on my sheets, you'll never want to sleep on anything else.
Go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen right now to get your very own MyPillow Giza Dream Sheets. Giza Dream Sheets are available in a variety of colors. Use your promo code, and for a limited time, when you buy one set of sheets, you'll get another set absolutely free.
For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit MyPillow.com.